Hi there, I'm Kevin Benedict and welcome to Deep Dive. This week we're reporting live from New York City and I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited to be here with a very interesting company that's growing very fast. It's Socure. I want to introduce Tom Thimot, the CEO of Socure, and Pablo Abreu, who's the Senior Vice President of Data Science. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
So I have heard a lot about Socure. I've heard a lot about the challenges around digital fraud. Talk to us, if you would, real quick, Tom, for the viewers that might not be familiar with Socure. Give us that brief overview, and then we'll jump into some questions and answers.
So Socure uses machine learning to determine a person's identity and determine that identity at the point that they're trying to sign up as a customer with the enterprise, whether that enterprise is a bank, a credit card company, a retailer, a communications company. We all have personal identifiable information, or PII, and that's our name, our address, our telephone number, our email address, our social security number, our birth date. All this information we provide, but we don't always know, the enterprise doesn't always know that Tom Thimot is Tom Thimot. And what we basically do is first use machine learning to identify that that is, in fact, Tom Thimot's identity. And then second, use machine learning to ensure that it is Tom Thimot that's presenting Tom Thimot's identity. And that's basically what we do.
Absolutely, that's interesting, and absolutely a need for that, isn't there? You know, a lot of articles I've been reading lately talk about the lack of trust found in Internet 1.0, if you would. And there's a lot of blockchain companies and security companies and companies as Socure that are looking to actually create that 2.0, that internet that has a layer of trust. How do you do that?
Well, I mean, inherent in trust is you want to make sure that the person is who they say they are. So you have to be able to very quickly verify who they are. And at Socure, we continue to use machine learning and thousands and thousands of data elements that you leave behind in your everyday life. Now, we're not vacuuming those up so that we can sell you things. We're actually using that data to help identify you and make sure that no one else is using your identity. And at Socure, we actually now are beginning to believe that we might actually be able to eliminate identity fraud. Thanks to Pablo and his team of data scientists, we're getting very, very close to that utopian goal of eliminating identity fraud.
So, Pablo, what are you guys doing that's getting you closer to that internet layer of trust?
Sure. First is the amount of data that we have and the amount of good identity versus fraudulent identities, and being able to couple that with thousands and thousands of risk-related data points that we use to train our machine learning models off. So a couple of things that I want to mention is feedback data from all of our clients, you name it, from the credit card issuers, from the demand deposits, from the money transfer companies, from even the telecommunication companies. We bring all of that data together, creating industry-specific machine learning-based models that are accurate, so accurate to the point that we're already hitting 95% accuracy.
Wow. So when I read your content on the web and in your papers and blogs and things like that, I read about bots. Talk to us about your use of robots, if you would, to accomplish some of this.
Sure. So if you understand Socure from a technical standpoint, we do three things that are very well. A search, we obtain your personal identifiable information, do a search, aggregate all of the information that you can think of. Again, thousands and thousands of raw data points. We create this massive pool of predictors that then we use for the last step, which is the score. The score is where the machine learning piece comes in where we push all of these thousands of predictors, creating a single score that then clients use to really approve, review, or decline your application.
Interesting. So I also read, there's this term that you guys talk a lot about, false positives. And false, so it's not just about finding bad guys, but validating good people, right?
Yep.
Talk to us about that term, false positive, and how you're working with that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you look at one of the basic things, we all sign up for things now on our phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I find it hard to always type exactly correctly on the phone, whether it's my name or my address. I'll either fat finger, or sometimes conveniently Apple or Google will decide that they're going to autocorrect what I've typed. That doesn't mean it's not necessarily me. That could create, hey, the name doesn't exactly match. So for a linear rules-based solution, that's not the person they represent themselves to be. Pablo's team will go in and actually surround that misspelled name or misspelled address with thousands of other data points, and that's where they eliminate the false positive of, hey, this isn't who they say they are. Well, actually it is. And that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that when you're applying for something online, on your iPhone, on your Android device, on your laptop, that all you see is accepted, and you see it in less than a second, in hundreds of milliseconds.
And just because you bought a new phone or you moved 3 times in the last year doesn't mean you're not who you say you are, right?
That is correct. Those are a few data points that we take into consideration when you look at the entire digital fingerprint of an individual.
So we talked about bots and the use of bots. Now let's talk about another emerging hot trend is, of course, artificial intelligence. Where do you utilize that within your systems?
Sure. So everything we do at Socure is artificial intelligence or machine learning. So machine learning is a subset of the bigger umbrella, artificial intelligence. And from the development of our Know Your Customer through the development of our fraud-related models is all machine learning driven.
And just machine learning, you're distinguishing machine learning from artificial intelligence, or are they one and the same in your world?
They are, I strongly believe that artificial intelligence is the bigger umbrella, and then machine learning falls within the artificial intelligence umbrella.
So how do your solutions in fact create a better customer experience for the end customer that might want to be doing commerce with one of your customers?
Well, think about it. If the entity, the bank, the retailer, the telecommunications company isn't sure who you are, they're going to send you a list of questions. Which of these addresses did you never live at? What was the color of the car you owned 10 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Or they're going to say, please call this 800 number. We need to ask you some questions. Or worse, you need to come to a physical location and present your ID card. Our job is to use all the data that surrounds you to create a digital fingerprint of who you are, so that the entity can say with absolute confidence, this consumer is who they say they are and they're not fraud. So I can just accept them as a customer and provide them with whatever service I'm providing, whether it's a new iPhone, whether it's something else from a retail store, or whether it's a credit card. The answer is just yes, because you've been able to identify who they are without creating a friction-filled, painful experience.
Oh yeah, and I talk to a lot of leaders in marketing, a lot of CMOs out there. And of course, one of the things they're all trying to do is create a smoother, more personalized experience. And they can only personalize it if they know who you are, right?
Yep.
And they can validate who you are. So I can see how that would fit right into that.
Well, anyone that does B2C solutions knows you spend thousands of dollars marketing to people. And then to actually get them to fill out the application online, hit submit, and get either a no, because they're a false positive, or to ultimately get a please fill out these 10 and answer these 10 questions, call this phone number, visit this location. You spend all that money to get them where they're saying, buy, I want to buy.
Yes.
And you're saying, no, I can't let you buy yet. Socure is all about making sure that you can say yes to your customers.
So we're going to talk about two things next. We're going to talk about the good side and the bad side of the internet, right? So on your website, in your mission statement, that's right up front on your website, it says we want to use technology for the good. Talk to us about that and why you chose that statement.
What? Yeah, go ahead, Pablo.
So when we talk about the good is allowing good people be able to have or purchase more products on the web, and enabling individuals to have that power, and getting them to stop being denied is a big thing for Socure.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we want everyone to have equal opportunity on the internet. And one of the things that has inhibited people's ability to all access and use digital commerce has been that sometimes it's harder to identify people. They tend to be people that maybe are an immigrant. They're maybe they're people that are fresh out of college. They haven't established much of a credit history. But just about everyone has established a digital history. It just flows off of their mobile device. And we use that digital history to identify you. So that even if you're new to the country, or even if you're new to commerce, you're fresh out of school, we can still identify you. And we include everyone in that digital economy, not just those that have a big credit.
Interesting. So let's talk about the dark side now. For companies that haven't invested in KYC, the know your customer kind of technology out there, and they're just going out there exposed to the world, what's the downside for them?
There's two sides. One, the loss. So when you allow someone that is not who they represent themselves to be to have your credit card or buy your product, ultimately it's being stolen. You have the loss of whatever that item is worth. The second thing is you proliferate fraud on the internet. And Socure, with our data sciences team, has been able to get our models so accurate. And because we have so many customers now between the banks and the issuers and the fintechs here in the United States, we're able to catch fraud patterns very, very quickly. So someone goes to one credit card company, tries to sign up, we stop them. We then see that identity come back with a retailer or telecommunications company, and we stop them again. So it's all about, stopping identity fraud at its first use. And the way you can do that is ultimately with the thousands of data signals that you leave behind off your mobile device, together with your personal identifiable information, we can stop identity fraud. And we really believe that our models are going to eliminate identity fraud.
So if somebody just sets up an e-commerce site out there, what are the statistics that, how many of the people coming to their site to buy are likely to be fraudulent?
First, solving or figuring out who they should be accepting, we see that in average, there are about 85% that should be automatically accepted, and Socure automates that entire acceptance. In terms of who turns out to be fraudulent, or by fraudulent is where do the companies see a loss, we still see those numbers within only 2% of the overall population that are applying. So if you're trying to optimize for the most of the business that you can bring into your platform,
Yes.
it should be up north in the 90s, for which is what Socure is able to deliver.
So what you're trying to do is, so 85% can automatically be done. 2% are bad guys. So you're looking at the gap between those two and saying, how can we close that?
Exactly.
Correct.
So that business and e-commerce can be done, and you can take advantage of that. Because as you pointed out, you've already spent the money to bring them to your website. You've identified them, you're giving them a personal experience, and then you say no.
Yep.
And you don't want to do that if they're good guys with money, right?
Yep.
Or,
No.
yeah.
And you want to allow everyone to have that experience. 85 to as many as 90% of people that are going to apply for whatever your service is that you're providing on the internet are good people that you should just immediately let in. And then roughly 2% are in some type of fraud category. And we're able to isolate those very quickly and make sure that there is a way for you to manage that 8 or 10% that's in the middle. But the current products on the market today, because they use a linear, does this equal that, if then else, very linear thinking, they're only able to auto-approve about 60% of the customers, which means 40% of your customers are adrift, being told to answer further questions, talk to this call center, come into this location. And they basically say, I don't want to do business with you. That's too hard.
Got it. So now let's talk about the company. Now, you guys are a startup company that's been around for a bunch of years. You've been fortunate enough to be a popular company with investors, and they've given you the funds to kind of take off. Where are you at today? I see you're growing in India. I see, this place is packed to the brim. So talk to us about where you're at today.
Socure continues to more than double in size, both on every imaginable metric, whether it's the amount of data we're working with, whether it's the amount of predictors, the models, the number of people within the company. We're about to cross 100 employees. And we continue to grow and grow and grow. And the good thing is that every company that joins Socure as a customer, you're providing feedback that helps make our models better and better and better.
Critical mass, network effect.
We have a total network effect because we have most of the credit card companies, most of the banks, almost all of the fintechs. And that type of momentum gives us a really great chance to really eradicate from the planet Earth the whole concept of identity fraud. You should not be able to steal someone else's identity. And we're going to stop that as a company, and we're getting close. And that's why the revenues are doing what they're doing, the size of the company, the locations we're opening up. We want to kill this problem. We want to eradicate identity fraud.
Well, thank you for doing that, because it would certainly benefit all of us and actually bring in that layer of trust that's so critical for actually continuing to expand and do business on the internet. So Pablo, Tom, thank you so much for joining us today. Now that we have the opportunity to talk with Tom Thimot and Pablo Abreu, I want to take you in. We're going to do a deep dive with Pablo into how this technology actually works. Stay tuned. Now, this is part 2 on an interview here at Socure. So for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of meeting Pablo, talk to us about your background. How did you end up here in New York City at Socure?
Sure. So data scientist since graduating from college in mathematics and philosophy, and have been doing data science for over 10 years. Started my career at Verizon, doing a lot of data munging and building lots of predictive models. And then moving to JP Morgan, doing very similar work, looking at news data and how to combine news data to different type of data that were heterogeneous to one another, and being able to leverage machine learning to provide recommendations to senior management.
Wow, and so you decided to take that skill set and bring it into identity and authenticating people in digital environments on the internet.
Correct. When I was approached by our co-founders, it intrigued me what were some of the things that they were looking to solve using digital identity and then using machine learning.
So I know one of the things that you and I were talking about before we recorded this is your ambition to eliminate digital fraud.
That is correct. We're being very aggressive. We no longer want to say we're able to detect 50, 60% of fraud in your risk is 2-3% of your population. We want to take a very aggressive and fully eliminating. What do I mean by eliminating identity fraud? Being able to really tell whether it's really you that is applying for a credit card or sending money overseas.
So when you have that separation, that digital separation between you and this business, because you're interacting in digital environments, how do you even go about that? How do you authenticate that person is physically the person they say they are?
Sure. So when you apply to anything digitally, you provide information or your personal identifiable information, and then you also provides device-related information, IP-related data points that you don't really even know that you're doing so. And so what Socure does is that we take all of that information, creating a holistic view of the identity, and being able to create thousands, and when I say thousands, we're up in the 5,000s now, risk-related predictors on what could we be using to plug into our machine learning models to be able to predict whether you're going to be committing identity fraud.
Wow. So you have a new product that you guys are going to be talking about and launching a new KYC, which is Know Your Customer. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Know Your Customer data providers out there. What's quite different about Socure is that today's data providers, they take or buy data from credit bureaus, only taking the credit header data, making that data searchable, loading it into a database, making it searchable, and doing mix and match to figure out whether these individuals should be accepted to doing business with your platform. What Socure has been able to do and enhance it is let's use the same credit header data. Let's bring in more data outside of the credit header using unsupervised machine learning, creating a more holistic view of the identity, allowing us to bring the auto approvals from, let's say, 65s that you're seeing all the way to the 90s. And we do that through heavy machine learning, through heavy mathematical approaches.
So when I was researching your company, I saw that you had a patented bot technology. It's like AIDA.
Yeah, it's called ADA.
Okay.
What ADA is a 3-step robot. Is a search, resolve, and then score platform. On the search, as you can imagine, we're using the real-time provided data to do a search internally, externally, aggregate lots of raw data points. In the result step, we are creating thousands of data points of risk that we use to the score step, in where the score step is where we plug it into our machine learning model. So our robot end-to-end only takes about, or even less than 1.5 seconds to give you a response on a probability score with a set of reason codes to explain that probability score.
That's mind-blowing. Well, I want to thank you, Pablo, for sharing, the world of data science with us and some of the technology that you're building here in downtown New York City.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for tuning in.